Y'all, listen closely, because this one isn't just messy. It's heartbreaking in a quiet, uncomfortable way. Martell Holt, the same man who once walked around like he had everything figured out, is now out here begging for something he used to take for granted. And no, I'm not talking about fame, money, or another chance on TV. I'm talking about family. I'm talking about belonging. I'm talking about the life he blew up with his own hands. Because after all the scandals, the cheating, the public embarrassment, and the ego trips, Martell is now reportedly asking to live with family again, not as a boss, not as the man of the house, but as someone who lost his footing and has nowhere solid left to land. And the wildest part? All of this is happening while Melody, the woman he once dismissed, is living proof that walking away was the best decision she ever made. What nobody expected was that the man who thought he was winning would end up pleading for shelter, comfort, and a sense of home he already destroyed. Martell didn't always look like this. There was a time when his life appeared picture perfect from the outside. He had a wife who believed in him when his ideas were just dreams. Melody wasn't just his partner in love, she was his partner in vision. She stood beside him when the cameras weren't rolling, when the money wasn't guaranteed, when the pressure felt suffocating. Together, they built a family that looked solid, grounded, and real. The kind of household people admired quietly and envied loudly. Melody carried the emotional weight, the planning, the nurturing, and the structure. Martell played the role of provider and leader, at least on the surface. But underneath that image, cracks were forming early. Instead of appreciating stability, Martell started chasing validation. He wanted admiration without accountability, attention without responsibility. And as his ego grew, his respect for his marriage shrank. Melody wasn't just a wife, she was a mirror, and Martell didn't like what he saw when he had to face himself. Then came the choices, the lies stacked on top of lies. The cheating wasn't just a mistake, it became a pattern. And what hurt the most wasn't even the betrayal itself, it was how careless he became with it. Public humiliation, repeated disrespect. Melody was forced to grieve a marriage while still inside it. She tried conversations, she tried forgiveness, she tried protecting her family, but eventually, self-respect spoke louder than love. When Melody finally walked away, she didn't do it loudly. She didn't scream for sympathy. She packed her dignity and left. And Martell? He didn't believe it was real. In his mind, she would always come back. She always had. But this time, she didn't. That's where everything shifted. Martell thought losing his marriage would just mean starting over with someone new. He underestimated the power of history. He underestimated the role Melody played in holding his world together. Suddenly, the house felt emptier. The silence got louder. The kids were there sometimes, but the warmth wasn't the same. What nobody saw on camera was the loneliness creeping in after the lights turned off. Bills still came, responsibilities didn't disappear, but the emotional safety net? Gone. And instead of healing, Martell rushed into distractions, new relationships, new promises, new illusions. He tried to replace depth with convenience, but comfort without connection always expires. Here's the twist nobody expected. While Martell was trying to convince the world he moved on, his life behind the scenes was unraveling. Financial pressure started tapping on his shoulder. Opportunities weren't flowing like before. The reality checks hit harder when there was no partner to soften the fall. He went from being a man with a household to someone bouncing between places, relying on others for stability. And now, word is, Martell has been asking family members if he can move in. Let that sink in. A man who once had his own home, his own family unit, is now seeking refuge in spaces that remind him of what he lost. This isn't about pride anymore. This is about survival. People close to the situation say Martell is emotionally drained. The bravado is gone. The confidence feels forced. He's quieter now, more withdrawn. When he's around family, there's a heaviness in his presence. It's like everyone can feel the regret hanging in the air, even if no one says it out loud. Imagine going from being the head of your household to asking relatives for a place to sleep. That's not just humbling, that's devastating. And the hardest part? Melody isn't there to pick up the pieces anymore. She used to be the one who stabilized him. Now he has to sit with the consequences alone. Meanwhile, Melody's life tells a completely different story. She's not scrambling, she's not begging, she's not explaining herself. She's thriving in a way that doesn't need announcements. Career moves, personal growth, peace. The kind of peace that comes from choosing yourself after years of being ignored. Every time her name trends, it's attached to strength, not scandal. And that contrast? It's eating Martell alive, because nothing hurts more than watching the person you broke glow without you. He didn't just lose a wife, he lost his anchor, and now he's drifting. What makes this even more painful is how the kids fit into all of this. Martell loves his children, that much is clear, but seeing them now is different. They are living reminders of a life that no longer exists. School events, holidays, simple moments, they all carry a silent ache. Melody handles things with grace, keeping boundaries firm. She's not cold, but she's done rescuing. Martell, on the other hand, feels like an outsider in moments that used to belong to him. That's a specific kind of heartbreak, one that doesn't make headlines but keeps you up at night. Family members reportedly feel torn. On one hand, they see a man who fell from his own pedestal. On the other, they remember the arrogance, the warnings he ignored, the chances he wasted. Letting him move in isn't just about space, it's about reopening emotional wounds. It's about acknowledging that the collapse wasn't bad luck, it was self-inflicted. And Martell knows it. That's why the begging hits differently. There's no entitlement left in his voice, just exhaustion, just regret, just a man realizing too late that he traded something real for temporary attention. Social media, of course, has opinions. Some people feel sorry for him, others say this is karma doing its job. Comments pour in, reminding him that Melody held him down when nobody else would, that she was the real prize all along, and now that she's gone, the illusion of independence has shattered. The internet doesn't forget, and it doesn't soften the truth. Every old clip, every past boast, every careless statement comes back like a receipt, and Martell has nothing to counter it with except silence. Behind closed doors, sources say he talks about Melody more than he admits publicly. Not in a dramatic way, in a quiet, reflective way. He replays moments, conversations, decisions, wondering where it all went wrong, even though deep down he knows exactly when it did. Regret has a way of aging you fast, and it shows. The energy he once had feels muted, like someone who's running on memories instead of hope. And here's the part nobody likes to talk about. Losing Melody didn't just affect Martell emotionally, it affected his identity. He was used to being half of something strong. Now he's facing himself without a buffer, without someone smoothing his edges, without someone protecting him from his own worst impulses. And that kind of self-awareness is terrifying when you're not prepared for it. Moving in with family isn't just about shelter, it's about admitting defeat, about acknowledging that the life he imagined without Melody isn't as fulfilling as he thought. The irony is painful. Melody walked away to save herself, and in doing so, she saved her future. Martell stayed the same, expecting things to magically improve. They didn't. Growth doesn't happen by accident. Healing doesn't happen through denial. And now he's living in the aftermath of choices he can't undo. The real prize was never money or fame or attention. It was partnership. It was loyalty. It was having someone who believed in you even when you didn't deserve it. So here we are, a man humbled by loss, a woman elevated by self-respect. Two paths that once ran parallel, now moving in opposite directions. And the lesson? It's loud, even in the silence. You don't realize the value of home until you're knocking on doors asking to be let in. You don't understand the power of a good partner until you're standing alone with nothing but regret. Martell is learning that now, the hard way. And Melody, She already learned her lesson, and she chose herself. And that's the part that stays with you, because some losses don't come with second chances. Some doors close quietly and lock forever. And by the time you hear the click, it's already too late.